this kind of goes with what you were saying, but how do you ensure the authenticity and originality of the restored vehicles? Like if the part is not, if the maker of the original part is no longer making that part, how do you like source those things?
So having the term factory in our name has its advantages.
Awesome.
So one of the things we have is we have an archive and wealth of knowledge that very few people have access to. And in reality, when we look at the classic models, there's only two places that do, us and the facility in Osberg. Okay. So that helps a lot. And it's a question that we get a lot because people are like, well, how do you know what's really real?
Yeah.
And so the fact that we have, we don't have one of every part in existence, but a lot we do. So it gives us the ability to compare. We can look for specific markings when a part has, take for instance, and we're restoring an engine. Everything that we can keep and reuse from an engine, we certainly will. And it's very easy to restore or get an engine back functioning by just taking a lot of things off, throwing them out, and putting new parts on. If it doesn't need to be done in that way for safety reasons, typically we won't. And that means that we may pull a stud, we may pull a bolt out that is, missing 3 or 4, millimeters in length. So we will look at all options to rebuild that actual original piece before we will replace it. And we've created the technologies to be able to do that. And so originality and authenticity are critical to us, and to a level because of the information that we've had access to that can really differentiate us from most everybody else.
Yeah.
And the great thing is us being able to either look in our archive here or call the archive in Germany. That's where the original everything exists. So having all that level of production data really gives us, quite an advantage to be able to say, this is authentic, this is what you were dreaming of, this is why you came to us.
Yeah, definitely. That is definitely something that's specific to you guys and a very awesome part of the whole project. With the 356 being one of the older models, do you see a lot of something like that? Are there cars that you see like a significant amount of, or something that you're not seeing at all, or something that you see come through the doors kind of regularly these days?
A lot of people expect that we would see a lot of 356, and we certainly do. We typically have close to 40 vehicles on hand at any point in time.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So you'll see, maybe on average 10 to 15% of the cars here at any point in time are 356s.
Oh, wow.
I think we have 3 that are in bare shell state right now. We had one that just left today.
Oh, cool.
We have one that's being finished right now. So.
Wow.
We have at least 5 on hand right now. But the reality is having 18 models that we're responsible for just on Classic, you get a really, really wide blend. So it's definitely more dominated 356 all the way up through our 964s. But when I say that, when we walk through the facility, you'll see 996s, 997s, and then, not that we have any on hand at the moment, but being responsible for Sonderwunsch for all models for factory one-off and recommission. So that gives us the entire portfolio of street cars that we have in. So on the rare chance you might see a 991 or a 992 in here as well. So it's one of those things that, again, every day it changes. Predominantly, like I said, 964 on back.
How do you balance the modern technology while preserving like the classic Porsche cars? Are you adding like airbags, like modern airbags if it doesn't have it? Is that up to the owner if they want them?
No, airbags kind of steps a little step too far in advancement because, again, you have to look at how structurally the vehicles were built. Mm-hmm. So you start looking at braking, suspension technologies, items like that. You can look at, are there different things in shifting systems? Mm-hmm. Because staying within vehicle compliance is critically important at all point in times. So there's certain areas, and a lot of people, when they look at an old car and they talk about technology, is brakes is probably the first question that, how can I improve the brake performance? How can I improve the suspension? So we'll look at those. And even cars that were very good, and we've launched a Manti kit for the 996. Modern day in terms of classic, but we create different options there. So it's model by model, it's always completely different, but it's an area that we do continue to look at. We are looking at it in how the next generation of owner and driver really would want to interact with a vehicle that's 40 or 50 years old. So that's something that when we, the Porsche Classic communication management systems, it was a first step into, this is what our PCMs are in our cars today. Mm-hmm. How do we start transferring some of that technology that people are getting very used to? They're like, okay, we have a car, or we have our phone's connected through the car. This has become very commonplace. So we started introducing that into our classic range with these new products. So that starts opening the doors to, again, when we look at a next generation, how do we appeal to them? And do they understand what all the analog dials are, because they've lived in a very technology-driven world and iPads and phones and screens. And so we want to adapt to that. We want to understand that we have this opportunity to take, whether it's a first generation Boxster, first generation Cayman, and say, new generation, we're here, we're trying to meet you somewhere in the middle and not make something really foreign for you, make it as fun. You get the pure essence of what Porsche was when that car was made, mm-hmm. but also kind of comes streamlined into your current lifestyle as well. So we do look at technology in a lot of different ways. Some may be convenience, some may be excitement, and some may be safety.
What kind of advice would you give to someone who might have a classic Porsche model or is looking to get one? What advice would you give them to help them maintain it or keep it in the best shape possible?
Drive.
Okay, I like it.
And people laugh when I say that, but the reality is that's the truth. The cars were built to be driven, mm-hmm. and we'll have someone come to us and we'll be walking through, we'll be talking about their car, and they'll be like, it's a great car, it's 35 years old, it's got 8,000 miles on it, and what's that car over there? Oh, it's 10 years old, it's got 147,000 miles on it. Why is that engine restoration cost less than ours? It's like, because you actually didn't drive the car. So your mechanical system hasn't been completely functioning as it was designed to do. And so that catches people off guard. And when you look in a financial repair situation, if you're not, think of it as a human being. If we lie on the couch for a week and try to get up and walk, it's not going to go all that well.
That's right.
So, our systems in humans and Porsche system in cars, not a lot different. They're intended to be driven. So step one is drive the car. Step two for, new buyers, new people that have just a general interest, is really take the time to explore their passion in the brand, because ultimately it's, okay, do I want a Boxster? Do I want a Cayman? Do I want a 911? Do I want a first generation? What's my use profile going to be? What am I trying to accomplish here and drive with you? Because they all have the Porsche essence. Yeah. But there's a characteristic in us all that gets uniquely pulled out when we're driving a vehicle. Which one makes you the most happy or the most fulfilled? So, and that's a really, really unique personal journey. So if it's, I just love the look of this, if I just love the color of this, I just love sitting in the seat, really tune into what that point of passion is, because if you do that, your ownership experience is going to be elevated. And then it comes back to, now you have the car, drive it. Yeah. And that car is going to keep giving back to you, and that reason that you took that step forward to begin with. Yeah. And then you just have to be very careful, because once it's in you, and then you're like, well, but now I should get this one too. and the journey is funny with a lot of our owners, because it's not very often that it's, okay, I've had this car for 5 years, I want to replace it with this. It's I've had this 5 cars, I'm only going to drive it on the weekend, I need to add to this.
I need the Monday car.
And that's where the fascination and stories really come into play. And we're very fortunate to be able to hear all those stories, and that's motivating for everybody in our company, and it's a unique thing about Porsche.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today. I think what you guys are doing here is really cool, and I hope that more people can come and experience this someday, and hopefully I will have a car to bring to you one day.
We're here when you're ready.
Okay, hopefully you approve my ideas. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.